Hello everybody and welcome back to RainBro Crafts. My name is Colton and today I will be making for you our final soap in our Heated Rivalry collection. This is our Valentine's collection and it has 3 soaps. It has an Ilya soap, a Shane Hollander soap, and then this soap entitled the Cottage, which was fitting because it is the finale episode title, I believe, where Shane and Ilya spend their summer at a cottage. I'm using air quotes here, but you can't see me because it's the nicest cottage I've ever seen. But we thought it would be a fitting end bar to our collection. This soap is a scent request that we get an awful lot. It is rose scented, and it's not necessarily in line with something I personally would use. I tend to like a more woodsy soap or citrusy soap, whereas Zach loves I call them grandmother scents. So lilac, rose, those kind of like dusty floral scents. More like maybe powdery is the correct fragrance term. For this soap, I'm doing a double layered soap. So I am breaking off my soap batter into 2 different pour containers. And I wanted to do them into 2 different pour containers because I wanted these layers to be pretty darn even, but I did not want to weigh them. So that's why I didn't leave half in the Cambro and half in a pour container like I normally would. You may notice that I haven't added fragrance oil yet, and that is because the fragrance oil that I will be using here momentarily gets really hot in soap and it causes it to accelerate. So while the scent itself is beautiful for a soap, it does not behave beautifully in the soap. So we do have to keep that in mind when we're formulating this specific bar and when we've used it in the past. My design, I wanted to do 2 different kind of reddish, pinkish tones. So the bottom layer is going to be a darker red, kind of like a pink, and then the top layer is going to be a lighter pink color. So I have a custom red blend here that is probably some rose pink mica and also some true red mica. I also have added into my fragrance oil, which you can see on the right side of the screen there, some rose clay, which is a pinkish colored clay that imparts a really nice color to the soap. So I was keeping that in mind while I was formulating the colors as well. I wanted to blend the colors in first because, like I said, this fragrance oil gets really hot and it accelerates. So I didn't want to mix the fragrance in like I normally would and then add the colors. So this is English Rose from Bramble Berry. Like I said, it's a really beautiful rose, traditional rose scent, but it does not behave super nicely in soap in terms of how it reacts with our soap batter. So I just was keeping that in mind. Normally I like to do like swirls and things like that, but this I wanted to just do layers, and I'm using the kind of quickening nature of the fragrance oil to my advantage. Keeping that in mind, I also am using a hand whisk to whisk that fragrance oil and that rose clay throughout my soap batter because I didn't want the stick blender to cause any extra acceleration. So moving pretty quick here just because I actually personally have never used this fragrance oil. Zach used it for a limited release collection last year, but on Bramble Berry, or at Bramble Berry, they put on the label how fragrance oils behave in soap batter as like a quick reference, so I knew kind of how this would behave. And you can already see that it's pretty thick, but not too bad, so I probably could have done some sort of design if I moved really quickly. To add a little extra zhuzh, I do have some rose mica from Bramble Berry in my little tea strainer there, and I wanted to do a nice little kind of mica line to differentiate between the darker pink red and the lighter red that I'm going to do at the top level there. I'm going to repeat the same everything here, except I have a lighter color blend in the oil that I just poured in there. I always suspend, shouldn't say always, I almost always suspend my mica in a little bit of the oil just from my soap base before I blend everything in. And that way you can make sure you don't get any mica clumps, because sometimes mica likes to stick together. It also, I just feel like, makes the colors a little richer. I've heard of people doing mica in like a water and blooming the mica. I tried this for one batch of soap, and I think I might have a video of it, but I cannot remember what it's called. And it was possibly the worst experience I've ever had with mica, so I will not ever do that again. I just use oil to make sure everything blends nicely together. I have added that second amount of fragrance oil to my other half of my soap there, and I'm just hand whisking this in. I didn't mention before, but Zach, not me, he did the prep work for this batch. He had weighed out the fragrance oil into 2 parts that equal what we normally would add to a batch of soap, to make sure that our fragrance load was correct in both halves of this soap batter. And I don't know if you caught it there, but when I went and moved the slab mold, the bottom layer did not jiggle at all. So it was really set up, and I probably didn't need to use my scraper here to break the pour. But because I used a mica line, I didn't want to disrupt that too much. And also, it's just an easy extra layer of protection, especially when you're wanting a nice crisp line. I didn't want to risk a heavy-handed pour kicking down into that bottom layer of my soap if it wasn't as set up as I thought it was. It probably would have been okay though. I will scrape out the remainder of that soap batter there, and then kind of in my own normal way, I didn't have a super clear idea of what I wanted to do for the top. Mainly because for this scent specifically, I didn't know how the fragrance oil would behave in the soap batter. So I didn't know if I would have time to do a swoop, or if I was just going to get a flat top or whatever it is. So I'm going to try 2 different options here. I have some more of that rose colored mica that I used in the middle, and I've just dusted that on top, kind of where the edges of the loaves are, but you can see, I don't know what I was looking at. It is not where the left side of the loaves are, or where they will be when I cut this. But I'm just using my spoon. I'm getting some really good spoon swoops, which is great, because sometimes fragrance oils, especially when they don't accelerate or make the soap get to a nice level quickly, you're just waiting around for nothing. So this was not that. Didn't like how that looked. I remember when I made this, I didn't like how the mica was not super distributed across the soap. And since I had some time still, I just am now doing swoops the other way to see if I like this a little bit more. And yes, I did intentionally crop out my gigantic head, so you didn't have to see that peeking in over the top of the screen there. Well, I'm going to look at this, and I'm not going to like it either. So I'm just going to do some nice little swizzles just across the top, and this is what I end up landing on. It just looked nice and soft and rosy. I just kind of felt like it matched the scent vibe of this particular bar of soap. I don't know if the design matches the Cottage from Heated Rivalry that well, because the cabin's pretty masculine in the traditional sense of the word, and this is not that, but we really wanted to use this scent. Also, what's more Valentine's-y than a rose-scented pink soap? It has been 24 hours, so we're going to take this out of the slab mold and the silicone liner, and we get to see our work, our hard work, and see if our lines are nice and crisp and clean, and also the pink color, if it stayed how we were wanting it. If you've ever made soap before, or you've seen our videos, you will know that a pink and lighter pink soap, it's really easy to make it look like vegan bacon, and thankfully this did not look that way. If you add in even a little bit of white, it looks like fake meat. There's like no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So if you're ever designing a soap or really anything that's kind of those kind of colors and it's a square, it's gonna look like fake bacon, and that's not really cute unless that is what you're going for, and that's not what we were going for. Now that I have that slab broken down into loaves, I'm gonna break out our multi-bar cutter there, Dorothy, and we get to see that line, and that is exactly what I wanted. I probably could have gotten a little better at dividing the batter up in equal parts. It's not a huge deal. It's more of a nitpick than anything. But I'm super happy with the design. I'm super happy with the fragrance. It wasn't really as much of a bugaboo as what I thought it was going to be. So we'll probably do this again. We get a lot of requests, like I said, for a rose scented soap. And this is a pretty true to form rose scent. So if you like rose, definitely check out that fragrance oil or this bar of soap. My question for everyone is, what is your favorite color of rose? Mine is gonna be tied between like a yellow rose, like a butter yellow rose. There's one called Julia Child that I think is yellow. It's like a nice soft yellow, and that's my favorite. Or like a white rose. I feel like that's very classy, kind of anime-ish, like Sailor Moon or something like that, and I like that. So let me know in the comment section down below what's your favorite color of rose. If you do want to get this soap or any of the other Heated Rivalry collection, they are for sale on our website today, and they will be for sale at the farmers market this weekend as well. So check out our website, rainbrocrafts.com. Also check out our website if you want to become a subscriber and get soaps, candles, or bath bombs sent to you each and every month. I do want to give a big shout out to Danny R. They are our newest study buddy. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video, comment down below your favorite rose color. Also subscribe to our channel and ring that bell icon. Thanks. Bye.